Reflexivity in social work: how personal identity and theoretical perspectives shape practice. Hello, everyone. My name is Ariana Kralchik, and today I'll be sharing my project on reflexivity in social work. Reflexivity is an ongoing process of self examination that helps social workers better understand how their own values, beliefs, and experiences shape their interactions with clients. This presentation will This presentation explores how my personal identity, conceptual baggage, and theoretical frameworks, specifically feminist theory and systems theory, have influenced my professional development. Reflexivity versus reflection. Before diving deeper, I want to highlight the difference between reflection and reflexivity. Think of reflection as looking back, and reflexivity as continuously being self aware in the present. Reflection often involves looking back at past experiences to assess what worked well and what didn't. Reflexivity, on the other hand, is a continuous process that requires us to examine ourselves in the moment, questioning how our background, biases, and assumptions are actively shaping our decisions and interactions. For example, during my field placement, I worked with a client who consistently struggled to engage in services. Initially, I assumed this behavior was due to distrust or disinterest, but through reflexivity, I realized that I had overlooked the systemic barriers that contributed to the client's avoidance, such as limited transportation and past negative experiences with social services. This shift in perspective helped me engage the client more effectively by addressing those external challenges rather than assuming the issue was personal. Moving on. Feminist theory and practice. Next, I want to explore how feminist theory has shaped my social work practice. Feminist theory emphasizes power dynamics, gender roles, and social inequalities. In my field work, I notice how gender norms often influence the way clients were treated within family systems. For example, a mother I worked with was frequently blamed for a child's behavioral struggles, while the father's absence was largely overlooked. Feminist theory helped me identify this imbalance and advocate for a more equitable understanding of family dynamics. I also became more intentional about ensuring that women's voices were centered in discussions about family well being, and this experience reinforced how essential it is to examine power structures both in client systems and within social work institutions themselves. Now, systems theory and practice. Systems theory has also been instrumental in my growth. Systems theory emphasizes how individuals are interconnected with broader systems, such as families, communities, and institutions. For example, before I started social work, I worked in a middle school, and I worked with a middle schooler, a peer, who presented with anxiety and poor school attendance. Initially, I focused on the individual, exploring coping skills and emotional regulation, but applying systems theory encouraged me to examine the school's environment, family stressors, and economic challenges that played a major role in the middle schoolers' struggles. The shift allowed me to address not just the individual symptoms, but also the environmental factors contributing to them. It reinforced the need to engage with clients holistically rather than focusing solely on their immediate concerns. Personal identity and conceptual baggage. Reflexivity has also helped me recognize how my own identity as a white middle class woman influences my practice. For example, I initially believed that clients who resisted mental health services simply needed better education about available resources. Through supervision and self reflection during my time um, in my internship, I realized this assumption overlooked the legitimate reasons clients might distrust mental health systems, such as past discrimination or cultural stigmas. By acknowledging these blind spots, I've worked to become more intentional about asking open ended questions and listening to clients' lived experiences rather than imposing my own assumptions onto them. An example would be early assumption about client distrust, which leads to realization of systemic barriers. Challenges in continued growth. Of course, engaging in reflexivity is not always easy. One of my biggest challenges has been managing emotional investment in my clients' outcomes, which has been difficult. Definitely, I've grown from um, being in my first semester as an intern. I've seen it in myself, and my supervisor has seen my growth. But I've sometimes found myself feeling overly responsible when clients didn't achieve their goals. Reflexivity has helped me recognize this tendency and to reframe my role, understanding that my responsibility is to offer support and not to control their outcomes. Um, I can't tell them what to do. I can only offer support, so I can't control their life. It's their life. I've also identified areas where I need to grow, such as developing better skills in gender sensitive assessments, trauma informed care, and advocacy. I've definitely improved my rapport with clients and building that connection with them. That's extremely important in continuing services. Um, just some of the things that I've needed to grow in, and I've also grown in. Conclusion. In conclusion, reflexivity is an essential skill for social workers. By continuously examining our own beliefs, biases, and assumptions, we improve our ability to engage ethically and effectively with clients. Through feminist theory, systems theory, and self exploration, I've learned how my identity and values influence my practice. Moving forward, I'm committed to remaining intentional about reflexivity as I develop into a trauma informed, culturally responsive social worker. Thank you for listening. I'd be happy to answer any questions.